All right, it is 10:30. We'll call this meeting to order of the Planning Committee on October the 9th, 2025. Dieter, roll call, please.
Yes, Walker,
Here.
Selden, here, Bentley,
Here.
and Byram.
Here. You have the minutes in the board or in the agenda packet. Are there any changes or revisions? No. Seeing none, they're approved as submitted. Member forum. Dieter, do we have some speakers today?
Yes, we have 4 member forum speakers today.
Great.
So I'll read the content for that. It says members are welcome to speak during the designated member forum at Rossmore Walnut Creek board and committee meetings, either in person or via Zoom. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes and must clearly state their full name and Rossmore address before beginning. If speaking on behalf of another member, a signed consent form is required. To speak, members must submit a member form slip prior to the start of the forum. Instructions and slips are available at meeting entrances, the RWC board office, and online. Please be advised that meetings are broadcast and recorded. By attending and participating, including during the open forum, attendees agree to and release RWC from all liability for their voice and/or likeness being recorded and broadcast for any lawful purposes without compensation. And so first we have up Bart Ostro. Please state your full name and your Rossmore address, and you have 2 minutes.
Okay, I'm Bart Ostro. I live at 3622 Terra Granada, 1B. Come by anytime. So I'm the treasurer of the Rossmore Tennis Club, and I'll be talking a little bit about the history and the status of the tennis courts. The bottom line is that the courts are in serious need of maintenance that has been deferred for far too long. In 2023, this planning committee surveyed the 8 courts and indicated in their budget plan that about $700,000 was needed to deal with the cracks, holes, drainage, and other existing problems. Of the $700,000, about $250,000 was budgeted specifically for courts 7 and 8. So clearly, when the committee viewed these courts, their poor condition was very obvious. Ultimately, the suggested funds for 2023 were deferred to the 2025 budget, but these funds do not appear in the 2025 capital projects budget. The project is listed, but with a very low priority and with no funding. The conditions of courts 7 and 8 continue to deteriorate and will soon become unplayable. Regarding courts 1 through 6, the planning committee recommended about $450,000, and as you know, ultimately $60,000 was allocated, which is proving to be not enough to do a decent job on those courts. I strongly urge you to restore the $250,000 previously approved for funding for courts 7 and 8 in the 2026 budget with a priority score that will ensure that the project is completed in 2026. The tennis courts are an important part of the Rossmore community and a significant draw for those seeking to buy in Rossmore. I came to Rossmore because of the tennis courts. Sadly, outside visitors to the courts are shocked by their poor quality, which is inconsistent with what we expect here at Rossmore. Thank you for giving me the time to talk.
Thank you, Bart.
Thank you.
Next, we have Barbara Landberg. Please come up and state your full name and your Rossmore address.
Hi, my name is Barbara Landberg. I live at 4320 Terra Granada 3A, and I'm here on behalf of the tennis court also. I moved to Rossmore almost 5 years ago, and I think the first club I joined was the tennis club. I love tennis, and I think I love Rossmore because I'm able to stay physically fit and mentally fit with all the opportunities afforded, and that's been great. I've been on the board of the tennis club as secretary. I think it's my 4th year. I play tennis about 3 times a week. And on, for instance, Monday mornings, I have a game and I get up at 6:30 so that I can get to the courts before 8, because by 8 o'clock, there are 24 people signed up typically. And I'm trying to avoid playing on 7 and 8, so I'll have to get there early for that. I'm going to be turning 85 next month, and I feel very lucky and grateful that I'm still able to play tennis and be active, and I think tennis is keeping me active. But I'm so inspired by so many people in the tennis clubs that are still playing in their 80s and 90s. I'm very inspired by that. But I think it's imperative that we get these courts 7 and 8 fixed so that they're safe. And I really would ask everyone on this board, if you can, I know you have busy schedules, but if you can make the time to go and see for yourselves the condition of 7 and 8. One of the courts is not even level, so you're playing on a slant, which is a challenge. But go for yourselves and see why we really need these to be brought up to par, to Rossmore standards. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Happy birthday, Barbara.
Thank you.
Next, we have Lori Davis. Please come up and state your name and your Rossmore address.
Hi, I'm Lori Davis. I am a realtor here in Rossmore, and I also live in Rossmore. My fiance and I moved here about 4.5 years ago, 2000 Oakmont Way, number 1. And I'm lucky enough to play tennis with all of them. Not as old, but I sure love it, and I admire all of them for what they're doing. My biggest thing is that I love Rossmore. I think it's amazing. When I bring people here, I feel like it's a haven in so many ways. But I will say that when I get up to the tennis courts, I don't want to take them up to 7 and 8 because it's kind of embarrassing. They're cracked, they're broken, like they talked earlier, they're sloped. And people that are coming from other country clubs and other areas, you know, people from New York City, from Lafayette, from Moraga, they come from these really established tennis courts. And our windy road is beautiful, the atmosphere is gorgeous. The first courts are nice, but then you take them up there and it's like embarrassing. So I guess our biggest request is just that we can do something to fix those at least 7 and 8 and just make the tennis courts look a little bit more appealing because we're in competition with other people and we're trying to bring people here. And I feel like we have so many fabulous things here at Rossmore and we just want to be our tennis team another fabulous thing. Because I want to play another 25 years.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Next, we have up Linda
Hey,
Haig. Please come up, state your name and your Rossmore address.
my name is Linda Haig. Live at 2824 Sacklin Indian Drive. My husband and I moved here 4 years ago, and I can tell you, coming from Colorado, we looked at many 55+ communities that didn't have adequate tennis. That was a deal killer. Until we found Rossmore, where we used to live in Montclair, and we found Rossmore, and I can tell you, we love every minute. We have had just Rossmore players on a yearly basis. There are 15,000 times playing on those courts. That doesn't include 3 teams. We have the men's Smile team. They have 21 matches. The 50+ women's team has 16 matches. The 65+ women's team has 16 matches. That basically equates to 27 home matches where we have our guests coming to play. There's usually always contention for the courts, and we try not to show them any of the 7 and 8 courts at all. So I beg you to consider reestablishing the $250,000 for the restoration of courts 7 and 8. Thank you.
Thanks, Linda.
Thank you. And that concludes the member forum for today.
All right, thank you, everybody. So next is the chair's report, which there is none. So capital project update.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ann Matola.
Yeah, I'm looking for, here it is, I want to share my screen. All right, so we're gonna go down the list of what's happening in the capital projects. And I'm gonna apologize to the community in advance for what will be several months of disruption beginning like next week. So starting at the top.
Months of what?
Excuse me?
I didn't hear what.
Months of disruption.
Oh, disruption.
Because we're gonna have some pretty exciting things, some, standard ongoing maintenance like with road pavement, but of course, we'll be kicking off the pickleball project. So with the pavement program, we do have some dates established for repaving Rockledge Lane and the entry, Golden Marine Road entry between 6 and 15. We're trying to look at the weather.
Yeah.
There's a chance that we're gonna have to postpone the work that was scheduled to happen at the beginning of next week. And so should that happen, we'll make an announcement to the community. But you know, there's like a message board right now as you come in. So if you see a change to that, it's because we have to, like the weather, particularly for the repaving program, it can't be during wet weather. So you may end up seeing a change to that. And then once we reschedule it, we'll announce.
And
Mhm.
plus PG&E is also working at the same time on Golden Rain. Do you know they're still there, like with tons of trucks and digging up the road constantly? And I don't know if I don't think they
They
do
don't
coordinate with you.
They don't coordinate with us.
So I'm just concerned, you know, you guys have a plan, but PG&E is doing their own thing on the same road.
And that is, and you'll come to find out that we really have no authority over PG&E.
Right.
Even when we schedule, for instance, even when we were to
Crazy.
schedule, like the power shut off when we had to do the switchover for the solar, they gave us a time frame and showed up like 8 hours early.
Is there
So
any
it's,
way that we can demand communication with them?
We do meet with them a couple times of year with their kind of regional folks. And they've been pretty good about being receptive to feedback and working with us. So we're constantly trying to build that relationship, but PG&E is a huge behemoth, and they have a lot of different priorities and emergencies that come up, so
Yeah.
they get derailed, and they also work with a number of contractors that they don't necessarily have a ton of control over, but we do try and coordinate as much as we
Well,
can.
they're still here.
Yes.
yes.
The fact that they're here though and doing upgrades to our system is not a bad thing. It could be frustrating, but it is a good thing.
Okay.
Okay, next on the list, the building finishings replacement, we had funded some of the flooring improvements at the event center, and that was complete. Roof replacement refers to the skylight in the fitness center that we are deferring into 2026. For the pickleball courts, I kind of gave you, you're going to start seeing some key dates on this, so you just kind of know what we've been up to. So we did our kickoff with the city on September 18th. Had a site walk with the contractor and the design team on September 30th. And then we're anticipating that we're going to start seeing things move into the site beginning next week and more fully the following week of October 20th. You know, once we're in full activation, there's, you know, where we have to go, and it's going to be a little bit of, we're going to be working with the groups that are at the event center to let them know what's happening in advance. So that notification is going out, like starting this week, if people do have reservations there. But to the extent that we could kind of control some impact, we did that at least for the start of the project. So again, the real visual obstructions that you're going to be seeing on the 20th, we pushed it to the 20th because there are 2 more kind of big golf tournaments that we didn't want to disrupt in any way.
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Do you know how many parking spots will be locked off?
I think it's about 25. I don't know the count exactly. The next one, the next project is the RWC admin building relocation. I don't know if Jeff has any.
So we don't have a lot of new information on that. We'll be continuing the process of sale and working with Colliers, our brokers, so that process is slowly moving through and keeping the board apprised.
Jeff, did we ever hear anything back from the school district?
We have not reached out to both the superintendent and director of facilities. No
Crickets.
response. Yeah.
Not to be unexpected.
For the food and beverage capital projects, we're still proceeding in the selection process of that operator and nothing to report at this point. For the lawn bowling green turf conversion, that is actually deferred to 2026. And really what that is to work with a company to do a park plan, lots of community engagement on the hillside open space areas. The golf course lake liner replacement project also deferred to 2026. For NetSuite, I wanted to let everyone know that we actively started working with Vermont Systems on September 29th, getting all the different components identified and creating the teams around them so we can start migrating data and get the models built. For the golf bridge replacement, there's not an update right now, so the staff needs to meet with BCAF engineers. We're in the process of transferring the project and selecting the right project manager. Depending on where they are in the process, we may be able just to carry it forward in-house without an outside contract. We're not behind the schedule in any way. Much of the installation, the construction would happen next year. But that's where we are with that. It's more internal adjustments of project management.
What sort of permit process do we have to go through?
We won't know until we see what the construction plans are.
Okay, because it would be kind of complicated, wouldn't it? Because
Yeah, but that's kind of the work that was being teed up right now. So with the environmental work that was done, they have a list of the different agencies that need to sign off on this, as well as any of the city permitting requirements. So that's all part of the work that's kind of been done today. But I haven't had that transferred to me, so I can't give you a detailed list of what's what. Let's see, that golf course pump replacement, that's been complete. The phase 3 solar, that refers to the event center. I actually put a descriptor in it this time. So that's the event center / pickleball solar installation. Just, we're integrating that into the pickleball project. And so we are kind of watching and walking the timeline through so we can make sure that we, meet the timeline requirements of the solar project. If you've been at the fitness center, you'll know that we started making a mess there with replastering on the pool project. So, at the most, it'll go through the end of November, but we do think that we'll beat that. We're thinking we can get it done in 6 weeks. For the median turf replacement, whoops, I missed one. Oh, the entry control, that's the emergency generator replacement, that one is complete. And for median turf replacement, John T. will probably address that later in the year, but it will be complete by the end of this year. I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Any questions? If not, moving on. We've got some enterprise risk management, I think.
A little later on in the agenda.
We'll address that later on in the new business. Food and beverage, anything we want to report at this point?
What's happening with the interviews?
So we conducted interviews with the four candidates, and we'll be reporting out on those interviews and follow-up here in the near future.
I have a question.
Yes.
About the anticipation that I've heard is that the Creekside will have to close down for some period of time, which I assume I've heard talk maybe January. Will there be a rollout plan where residents will have access to some food? Because there are people who totally rely on Creekside, which I didn't quite realize how much some elderly people who don't cook, etc., they go to Creekside. So will there be more food trucks? Will there be anything in place to help supplement the loss of the restaurant?
Great question. Yes, in the interviews and in discussing with all of the potential vendors, including Creekside, we talked about transition plans and making sure that we have opportunities available. We're not exactly sure what that's going to look like yet, but that is definitely part of the planning process to make sure we don't have significant downtime, whether it's ongoing service at the restaurant or whether it is through food trucks or other locations and opportunities. That's a high priority.
Okay. And you'll let people know.
It's
In
all part of
advance.
that. It's all part of what needs to be planned based on the selection, because it
Yeah.
could be different depending on which
Okay.
path to go down.
Any other questions on food and beverage? Transit?
So we did have a meeting with CCTA. As I reported previously, they have applied for a federal grant, which we would be a part of in terms of transitioning some of our equipment and potentially even our dispatch type service. Unfortunately, with the government shutting down, their grant award notice was delayed. It was supposed to be last Monday.
Yeah.
And so they are waiting. They did go back, they met with the transportation secretary, and it looks like a good opportunity, but again,
If anyone will do it, it's him.
we're waiting for the kind of notice to realize if that's going to materialize or not. But CCTA continues to be interested in partnerships with our community, which is always a good thing.
Now, it's going to take quite a while for, if they get the grant, because they're looking at, I can't remember the name, I think it's Holman, vehicles, which are sort of autonomous vehicles at this point. But apparently those are 2 to 3 years out.
So we're actually looking at a program where you would have an electrified vehicle as phase one that could then, as the technology is more readily available and also built in the US, would become part of phase two. So you would have an electrified vehicle that could transition to a autonomous.
So the idea would be that we would learn whether or not that they have the grant.
Right.
If they do, then we go down one path. If they don't, then we have to,
Then we look
we
at
need to set up a study program to identify what it is we want to do.
Exactly. So we are planning on reporting out to you next month with kind of what that alternate would look like.
And maybe the government will be open by then.
And maybe not.
Rossmore any other questions on transit? Rossmore.com, my Rossmore. I'm sorry.
Resident services.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
we talked about, we launched that on September 29th with Vermont System, so that's the update for resident services. And
And a question about that. So I looked at their website and it looks like they have a tremendous amount of data that may be available to us for key performance indicators and things like that. Do you see that as you're demoing the product? Because all I did was look at their website.
So I think what we need to,
Dangerous.
we need to build this to be the administrative tool that we need to keep the programs going. Built properly, there's a myriad of different data points you can pull from it. So yeah, so it's a resource depending on what it is that the KPI committee decides we're actually measuring, but yeah.
But it would be useful.
Oh, yeah, it's a great
for the
tool.
committee to work with you on understanding what it can do.
I think the better way to go about it is, what do you want to measure?
Yeah.
What do you want to measure? Because it's a bit of a Herculean task to migrate data for all these different programs, to put it in there, to test it from the operational standpoint, to make sure it does what we need it to do functionally to manage our programs. The very nature of doing that and what you have to collect to do that and these enhancements that we have, I think it's important to understand what is it that you want to measure, because we have to build this and we can't, if we take that on detours, the timeline's going to get pushed out. So when we get to that committee,
No, I meant
that'll be a different
more
discussion.
in the sense of understanding what the system is sort of capable of. For us, if I'm on that committee, for me, it would be desirable to understand what the system is capable of, so that in thinking about what we measure, you think about a little bit about, well, is it feasible?
One of the elements of that committee is one, what do we want to measure? What do we use it for? But then also, what are the tools available? How are we going to actually do that? Which is where this would come in.
It's sort of an iterative thing is what I'm trying to say then.
Yeah, it's a puzzle that a lot of
Yeah.
pieces to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on resident services? Rossmore.com.
Don't have an update. Ann is not available today. So
Javier Lee, yeah.
yeah, Javier left. I was looking too.
He knew you'd be asking.
They do have the kind of workshops planned, so they will be doing several workshops to get feedback on the sites. I believe they're doing activities council tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna go to the President's Forum at the end of the month. So they've got a whole schedule of outreach. which-
Okay, any other questions? Moving on, new business, review of the 2026 capital budget process and timeline. And
Super. So there are three different things that we want to talk about with the capital budget process and timeline. One of them is like the timeline itself, which I can tell you very simply. So typically what we do is between November and December at this committee, there's discussion about different projects. And so within kind of those standard categories that we have with ongoing maintenance, we share with you the things that are kind of coming up on the timeline. And then it would be other incidental, projects that there may be. And so we discuss those over the following 2 months, so November, December. And then it goes to the board and there are 2 readings, and sometimes there are adjustments that happen between the first and the second reading. I can't remember what it was, but I know there was a small change last year in that. There will be some differences to this budget, and so we kind of need to talk a little bit about it, and I may have Jeff lead this. We've transferred those unallocated smaller capital budget items from the operating budget into the capital budget. So that's a distinctly different line item. And so we need to talk a little bit about that, what that looks like when we put the budget tool together. And to update and evaluate.
Will we be looking at the operating and, no, just,
No, so there's no more capital in operating. It was all transferred now into the capital budget.
okay.
Into the capital budget.
So what's in operating now? Your
So-
ongoing maintenance, like,
Ongoing maintenance, we still have the RWC facility maintenance budget, and that was approved in September. That covers everything from, just painting of a room, fixtures, all of the upkeep that they do on a daily basis, right?
then we get updated on how that's going? Or no? We just sort of
No,
give
I
you the
mean,
money
that
and you
is-
spend it.
what's a part of the operating budget? So we
yeah.
get reports every month of spending
On
against the operating budget.
Okay,
Sure.
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah. We get
And then-
reports on capital budget too.
Yeah.
So.
And then what will be in the capital is what used to be titled the trust facility property maintenance, now RWC facility, something like that, facility maintenance. And that is things that are like, it was slurry seal, it was sidewalk repair maintenance, equipment repair maintenance. So if a capital piece of equipment fails and needs to be replaced, that may not have been anticipated, that would go into there. Non-capital equipment, let's say it was a $4,000 heater that needed to be replaced, would go out of operating. It could be large-scale tree removal, something that we have to take care of that is $20,000, say. So there's a lot of those types of items. So what we'll do, very similar to the equipment, machinery and equipment budget, where we give you a specific line item with a detail of what equipment we're recommending. This will be a line item with a very specific list of projects that or funding categories that we're recommending.
Do we need to do some policy tweaking?
So the one policy is already in the works, ready for second reading, that talks about allocation of expenses between operating and capital. There is another policy that talks about approval process for anything in the capital budget is supposed to be approved. So you approve the budget, but then you actually, again, approve the expenditure. Where in operating, you approve the budget and then we can march forward and expend within those limits. So we need to level that up a little bit to make sure we don't have to come back and get authority if it is, something we need to replace. And we'll do that over the next couple months.
And then the third thing, and probably a little bit more discussion that we want to have, is about the capital projects prioritization tool. And so, pay attention to this one. So Adrian brought like two models to us on prioritizing.
Adrian and Ted.
And Ted, oh, that's right, I'm so sorry. Adrian did all the talking, Ted. And so what this does, it just kind of, it just has them side by side. And then, so you have the pyramid that has kind of these prioritizations based on safety, long-term structural, et cetera. And then there was like another classification of, are they must-have, should-haves. And I assigned letters to them. So if you needed to do a sort in Excel, so that's why so instead of doing the MSCW, which is the must-have model,
I see.
so that's why you see the letter. So it just tweaked the models presented from the subcommittee a little bit, so that if this is what we're using and they go into a data sheet and we wanted to say, well, we want to see them sorted by, both things, you can do it that way. And it's in the appropriate hierarchy.
That gets rid of the Dwight's objection to loss.
Yeah, and we can still call it that. It'll just have different letters, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so the other thing I wanted to show you, and you'll see, let's see if this will do this. Okay, oh, good. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get rid of some things on my screen. It's too small here. Where's my other stuff? Here we go.
Oh, I see, you've added a priority box, right?
No, so this is, so the other thing I want to show you is, this is the tool, and you'll see these say samples. So these are actually what we used.
Can you make that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm trying to. It's as big as it'll go. So this is what we used last year. And so what we ended up doing was so the list number corresponds to the other sheets that I printed out for you. They look like this, right? So as we're discussing things, like up in the upper right-hand corner gives like a number, and it's how they're kind of just sorted in a spreadsheet. So, and at the end of the project, we put them in the proper numerical for you to have the clean thing for 2025. But what we ended up doing was really looking at the priority. We gave them priorities more based on discussion, but if you looked at it, we did bring out a different model that Dwight had, and it was a pyramid of 4 instead of 5, really similar categories, right? And so we gave them priorities. And a lot of it was based on the other attachments I gave you, and they are the narrative sheets that went with each project, and it's the narrative in individual narratives and financials. And it starts with the project description, and then it has a number of different information boxes where we try to put in things to help evaluate it. Now, included in that are things that have to do with the community and benefit impact, benefits versus risks, which could lead to, well, this is it's required by some type of a statute or something like that. Like we knew, and I gave you 2 examples, one of them being the lawn Bowling Greens conversion. And then I also gave you the sample of the swimming pool, because the swimming pool replastering, we actually need to do that, or else we could be in jeopardy of losing our health permit. And actually, if you see one of the spa that's drained, you can see how it's like a lot of the surfacing spalled. I mean, we were really kind of in a place where when you look at it, once you start doing the emptying of the pools, you can see why the health department is concerned and they want us to to keep up with that. The lawn bowling greens, this is not something that's required by any type of a statute. We don't have, it's not necessarily safety. And if you look at the way we were, I'm gonna see if I can. So what we would do on the individual sheets is almost writing a comment that by the ABCD or the Moscow could, it just could be a letter and it's a shorthand for really making those distinctions of, it's not a must-have, it's can be deferred and all that. So they're similar, and so the question for you is if you were to look at this and if we replaced on these individual sheets, it would be like a 2A, 2B, 2C, and then it would be the same on the list. Is this a good way for you to follow along? And what would happen, like when we were looking at the narrative sheets and discussing them, the board would say, could you give us, could you come back and give us a little bit more information about, and it was very directed on the information in those different category boxes that the board or the committee wanted to help them make the decision. So I think part of it is if we come back next month, are we okay using this kind of as a reference to have conversations about the projects that are presented, and we'll just clear out any of the numerical data that's there, and you can really kind of start and look at everything. Would this be enough to go on for this year as we kind of incrementally change how we look at these?
So what I want to make sure I understand what you're
All right.
proposing is that the capital budget process, the information sheets, staff will assign using this tool two elements in that.
Yeah,
I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
I think
it's
that
helpful.
really does nail the priority as well as the Moscow.
and then as we go through the narrative, we'll make sure we articulate the why. And I think that's what we did. You asked staff to do the first whatever, and then, then the committee was just using it and saying, what are you thinking? No, so they actually were asking for more information or, just, so that will work if we give you a starting point?
So I'm a little confused. So in the past, or at least last year, there was a list of projects backed up by the information
Yes.
sheets. So you're proposing that same process?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, now granted, we have a lot of projects that are in various states of process and they're, and they're deferred. As staff, I'm probably gonna keep them as a one something, but you might just say, it's not a priority anymore.
Okay. And you are prepared to submit that next month?
Yeah.
Or December?
No, we wanna start talking about it next month,
Okay, because it won't go to the board until January.
January, yeah.
Okay.
So,
And again, we're not, and I would say like it's
Touch
like
points.
capital, except for like machinery and equipment and the unallocated stuff, it's not as critical, the timeline,
so you
so
wanna
we
see
have
the
time.
picture, so individually, but individual projects can move forward if necessary, but it's always good to see the full picture of,
Yeah, because we want to.
I think this is super helpful. And I mean, you look at this, $40,000 to replace the turf, and we already know we spend almost that on water every year.
That's just the
No,
study.
that's not how much it costs.
That's a study, that's
That was
not
for
the
the
cost.
study.
Oh,
Half
the
of the study.
40,000?
Half of the
So
study.
it's-
zeros to the.
Oh.
Million, we're talking millions.
Oh, I see, estimated 5-year cost is $1,280,000. Never mind. Okay, now I'm learning how to read this thing.
Yeah.
Look for the big number first.
Yeah.
Biggest number.
The biggest number and work backwards.
Okay.
Well, is everybody okay with the,
No, I think this would be.
So just so I understand, staff will bring us just as based off of this tool, and then we will go over it and we could adjust it if we had to.
Oh,
Is that,
absolutely.
that's what
Yeah.
that's what we're looking
and
at. So,
planning as
but-
well as at
But
board
we're,
level?
I can remember in the past, we set the priorities at some point. We went down through the list and set priorities for things. We won't be doing that anymore.
You don't
So-
want to.
Yeah, but-
So
So we
the-
haven't
so-
done that in a couple of years.
Yeah, but I
We did it
remember doing
based on
it.
the weighted
It
average.
was a long time to go through all
Yes.
that. Yeah.
You don't want to do that.
So staff will do it, then we will go over it and maybe adjust one or so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, well, terrific. Well, Ted and Adrian, thank you for
Yeah, thank you for that
enhancing
tool.
that. And
This does make it easier
it's
a good reference.
very understandable, I think. Yeah.
than that ballot process. Oh my God.
All right, anything else in terms of that? Oh, and so Janet and Ann and I were working on an infographic or a flow chart of the capital budget process, and we need to have another meeting. And we will go forward, move ahead with that, but the process is moving ahead. Enterprise risk management grows every year.
You want me to share yours? No, I'm done sharing.
It's not letting me, oops,
Do you want me to open it from somewhere?
hold on. Technology.
Plugs.
See if you can get there first.
There we go.
Okay.
That's- okay. So this is a document that we try and keep updated on an annual basis. It is a list of risk, identified various risks to the organization and the community. It identifies action plans a little bit in terms of what have we done, what do we plan to do to address certain risks, so we are prepared. Some of this may be something you would consider within your overall capital plan as well. It has not changed since the last time you really looked at it, but I do have some areas that I'd like to go over specific. So unless you want to go item by item, we can do that, or we can kind of look at some specific areas where there has been some changes and progress made. Totally up to you how deep you want to dive into this.
Well, there are some updates. Maybe you want to go through those
Okay.
because like the catastrophic event.
Yeah, so we can kind of just scroll. So the first one being the deadly pathogens. This is really talking about landscape and the materials that we use and being prepared in case something comes through, especially on our trees that may impact those. Of course, the pathogen that would potentially affect the community and the nation as we lived through that one. The facilities, the catastrophic events, this is one where there has been some changes. We talk about major things such as a wildfire, a flood, a landslide, or earthquake, some of those tied together. We talk about the challenges with the insurance coverage. This year, the changes, we have actually dropped earthquake insurance currently, but the progress made in one of the discussion points is next year we will have funded the $4 million target within the capital budget. Question is, should we continue that? Because it was targeted to build until 4 million, but is that something we should be satisfied with? I think you brought that up previously, and that would be a good discussion point. If we drop the 5 million in earthquake coverage, is that maybe a more realistic target of trying to continue to build that reserve? The other thing that we're looking at is moving the insurance. We're moving the insurance renewal to the June 1 to give us some opportunities to look at pooling and those types of opportunities with other communities. So there's maybe some potential or current status updates that we can add as far as action plans to that one.
So Jeff, are you looking for update? What do you look for?
So what I'm looking for is if there's any comments, feedback that we can start to tweak this document. If there's new categories that you'd like to add that you don't see now in terms of new risks. And then we'll get all of that feedback and then bring it back through the various committees. So we'll take this to finance, to the audit committee as well, and then update the document.
So I mean, as an edit, it says, under current status, done, earthquake reduced in 2024.
Yeah, like I said, this is last year, so we'll make those type of edits automatically. But
So on the earthquake, I really feel that there's an area where we're at risk because an earthquake could occur, not a terrible one, but a serious one, and cause damage throughout the valley, but you don't know where. So you can't insure a building. You've just got this problem that you've got to deal with. And this parametric insurance, that's a new capability that they're offering, says basically if there's an earthquake of this magnitude in this area, then they pay us $5 million or $10 million, whatever number we've chosen. And we can use that money any way we wish. And so it gives us an ability to deal with a moderate kind of something that's more than just a building, a small building or two, but something that's really screwed up a whole bunch of stuff, roads, tennis courts, whatever. It gives us the money to deal with that. And I don't know how to really assess that risk, but I think Gallagher can tell us a lot about that. And I think we feel we should understand that.
Didn't we get a proposal on that?
We did.
Overly expensive,
Yeah. Well, it was aimed at the 5 million. It was sort of aimed, as I understand it, to replace the 5 million. And what I'm looking at is something where it's more up, if we're going to face a $20 million loss or $30 million loss across the entire community.
Well,
Yes, Ted, yes.
with this, as I understand it, we're only looking at RWC property, right? If Mutual One was leveled, that's not what we would be focusing on we would want to know what the damage is to RWC. Mutual One would have to take care of Mutual One.
that's true,
Yeah.
but for this document, you're looking at what are risks to Rossmore.
Okay.
And if Mutual One had a catastrophic event that they couldn't handle, it impacts the kind of everything. So we may not be able to solve Mutual One, but it should be identified as still a risk. So what we could do though, in what you're talking about is continue to research parametric or other coverage options.
Yeah, what I hear you saying, Adrian, is sort of like a high deductible catastrophic.
Yes,
Parametric.
that's right, yeah. So it's not unlikely to be kicked in and therefore unlikely to cost a whole lot, but just in case.
Right.
Kind of
Okay.
thing.
Do they do, I'm trying to remember when they did a risk assessment. It seems like there was something done.
Yes, they have done.
A number of years ago or something. What is the risk assessment of Rossmore as far as earthquake damage?
Higher than fire.
We have done the modeling actually for potential earthquake damage, potential wildfire damage over the 100-year, 500-year, 1,000-year, 10,000-year categories. And the potential loss from a major earthquake is actually higher than what wildfire models out.
Highest risk, kitchen fire.
Yes.
I never feel an earthquake since I moved here.
Well, you missed the one.
I think because I'm on Cyprus.
We had one in Berkeley that we felt here.
Yeah.
I was in Hawaii, yes.
So there's
But I used to feel everything in San Francisco,
we continue?
Yes.
Okay, business continuity, this is one that we need to get back to a little bit. We have gotten sidetracked with a lot going on in our accounting and IT realm. So this is one that needs to move back up the list. Capital availability, we just took some action, the board just took some action related to this with the increase in the MTF and the escalation moving from 500 to 1,000. This also has to do with our access to available lending capacity. That is also being analyzed, especially in relation to the medical center and sale of that. So there is some definite updates and actions to add to this one.
Jeff, it says, consider raising the RWC coupon to fund required projects. Did we mean to say MTF? Or did we threaten the coupon?
I think we threatened the coupon actually, and as a proposed potential solution to a lack of capital.
Maybe you should say and/or, coupon and/or MTF, because it looks a little too scary to me.
Yeah.
I think that came about because we were talking about what the assessment might look like if we had to fund something significant through the coupon. I think you actually drove that discussion.
I doubt, because I don't remember.
And did you come up with an answer to that question? It's sort of hard to tell because you don't know what the cost you're talking about might be.
Yeah, well, when you're talking about, yeah, you don't know what the project, it could have been to do with water reclamation at the time. I think that may have been the topic. Yeah, we were talking about if we had to do a plan of what it could potentially be. But, anyway, lost my train of thought.
No, you're good.
Okay. So the next one, RWC coupon payments. This is if there's a disruption in mutuals being able to. So this kind of goes back to your thought on Mutual One or any of the mutuals. Let's say they had a catastrophic event or they had a large number of vacancies that they could not pay their portion of the coupon. We have the business interruption insurance that we have increased the limits on. And we do need to, that's also associated with the business interruption plan.
Would that cover though, with the business interruption insurance cover, if any given mutual said that we're not paying you?
I think it would if there was a lack of revenue from a mutual that was due and they couldn't make that payment, we would have a claim in order to keep our operation going. How that would balance in between insurance and the mutual, but if it was the mutual just saying, we're no longer using you, that would be like a different story.
That would be what?
That would be a different thing.
A court.
You couldn't use an insurance claim for that, right?
Right. Small claims court.
The membership transfer fee, there has been some changes in that. But the main thing is if there was significant reduction in membership transfer fees due to market conditions. Well, we're in a trough right now. We've made some adjustments to the membership transfer fee, but that was also part of the whole marketing efforts and kind of transitioning, doing some internal marketing rather than just relying on the realtors to do that.
I have a
Part of that,
question.
yes.
So we don't know how this is gonna go, this 18,000.
Nope.
And so I assume, what if there was like such a decrease in sales and we actually could identify that it's because of the transfer fee? We could be in a position to lower it again if we had to, right?
Nothing is set in stone.
Yeah, we have to make sure that we cover our obligations for the existing loans that are funded through here. But otherwise, you would be deferring capital projects. You'd want to make sure you're covering anything that is under contract, but you could, in theory, lower the fee. It is really difficult to think of a scenario where if the market is doing well, that the fee has any impact. And if it's low, that sales within Rossmore are lower than would be otherwise due to the membership transfer fee. I think if they drop lower than they are now, it would be more associated with the outside market than it would with the transfer fee. But it could be adjusted up or down.
And what we want to avoid is having to fund the capital fund through the coupon.
Right.
Or
See, it was your,
or to do special assessments because infrastructure needs to be taken care of. I mean, so, you know, I've had this discussion with people that are concerned about the $18,000. And I said, well, would you rather pay it monthly in your coupon? Because we could pass along $100 a month to everybody every month and cover that. But that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to introduce the coupon and maintain our facilities into the future.
I mean, in all the mutuals, though, a good chunk of your coupon is going to reserve.
Absolutely.
For capital projects in your mutual, so. I mean, so it's not unusual to do.
Right.
that's what other communities have to do that don't have the authority to do the membership transfer fee that we fortunately have. So the next item is related to the medical center. There has been updates as we completed the studies in relation to reuse of the facility, and it is now back on the market. So there will be updates to that section. Internal controls, the internal control audit was discussed during the budget cycle and moved to 2027 for funding consideration. But there are certainly updates related to internal controls with the implementation of NetSuite and its other host or bolt-on programs. We are really focusing in on process over the next year, and then we'll have the audit once things are actually implemented. So,
Does the KPIs fit in here someplace on internal controls?
I don't think so. Not as internal controls are defined.
yeah, I wouldn't think you would want to put that as part of that either. Okay, financial lack of reserve in the trust fund. We talked about that earlier. This is another place where that can come up. Is there's an interest in continuing to build that reserve. We are approaching the 4 million mark next year.
By the way, Jeff, can we change trust to?
Yes, there's a few different places where different terminology shows up. Finance, risk, insurance, and mortgage. This is one that came to pass with the lack of insurance and inability to obtain mortgages. There is no foreseeable future where we will have full insurance. So this is either a legislative effort or we continue without ability to get mortgages or reverse mortgages, although there are some opportunities that are being made available for new buyers. So we can put some updates within this.
I mean, that is something we could be doing something about. I mean, there's a whole bunch of communities like that across the, Florida, down south, et cetera. I mean, we're all facing exactly the same problem. And I'm surprised in a way that somehow there hasn't been a group of these communities get together and reach out to, private equity lenders and those type of people to say, here's a real opportunity for you guys. And we can provide you with some administrative services on this. Because like we, because of our systems here, we could be collecting the mortgage as part of your payment on it and paying it to the lender so that they wouldn't have all the administrative overhead. And I'm sure other communities could do the same. So I'm just surprised that initiative hasn't taken off.
So the industry, through some of the organizations, CAI, they have a lobbying branch. This is one of their top priorities in terms of lobbying. I don't know that there's been a lot of progress made on the national level, but we try and maintain that information and certainly would support those efforts, but that's kind of where the legislative efforts are.
And if board members haven't looked at CAI, Community Association Institute.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Really a good website and active national organization taking on issues like
I'm
this.
sorry, Community Association.
Just go to
What's the I?
cai.com.
What's the I stand for?
I'm not sure.
I think it's institution.
I think
Also.
yeah.
Yeah. The CIA.com will probably get you really close to the, if not right on the webpage.
So the next one has to do with technology and finance. I think this is one where we are actually making progress in a number of different areas in terms of technology. But there's always that balance of, how soon and how much do we introduce technology within our operations. But in terms of process, it is very much tied to the one above in looking at our internal processes. But we have made significant strides in a number of these areas. So I'll do some updating in this one as well.
By the way, Jeff, what is a GRC software solution Workovia? Workgila?
I do not know where that came from, to be honest with
When
you.
I read that, I went, where am I?
That must have been from the IT side of the house, so I'll have to get that updated. All right. The next one is, I don't know that I would title this missed opportunities in AI in the future, but technology, including AI and automation and how the organization responds to it, utilizes it. It is a tool within NetSuite. It is a tool that we utilize internally with reports and various aspects. But we want to make sure it's not misused and it's also not an opportunity that we miss.
So in current status, it says no current AI. That's not true.
That's not true.
Okay, got it.
So we'll make those corrections. Computer vulnerability, obsolescence. This was really focused on our need to have better servers and better the attacks from viruses and malware continue to escalate. And we have put a very significant focus on this effort. We also have redundant systems now and backup systems. So we'll add the bullets for the current status because there's been significant done in that category. We haven't done anything with the landslide. This was triggered with the one landslide that we had. There's been discussions about doing a hazardous abatement district. We have done very preliminary stuff with that a few years ago, but haven't proceeded with anything.
Where was the landslide?
On the golf course on fifth hole. Yeah, the fifth hole.
Well, two houses didn't go down. We had some land movement. Nothing went down a hill.
Well, Mary's referring to the landslide at Mutual 68, which was covered by insurance. Which we don't have.
Which we don't have anymore. So that is, potential, something we need to re-examine. we can evaluate that exclusion. Water reduction on the golf course. We heard during Mark's presentation for the budgets, the impact of some of the conversion of the air conditioning units, and we're buying more water because even in a wet year, we had less in the creek. And that's gonna probably continue to be an ongoing issue. So the board still has a water conservation projects as a goal. We'll look to add that to your capital budget in the coming months. We have dropped the SWRF option, but we are continuing to work with regional partners. We had a meeting just the other day with Central Sand would be a purveyor of recycled water. Not likely in anytime soon, but what they are doing is potentially adding to the resources for potable water, which then decreases the need for, because you have greater capacity. And that's been a theme, I think, with both East Bay Mud and Central Sand.
By the way, Jeff, I saw that Diablo Country Club dropped their SWRF.
So
due to cost estimates.
I think they were 40 million, 45 million range.
And what about that water tank that's gonna get abandoned by whoever owns it?
East Bay Mud.
East Bay Mud owns the tanks that kind of dot the hills up here, and they have a plan for replacing those with more efficient and updated models. Whether they do new technology in place or it's relocated, but we definitely want to keep the conversations with East Bay Mud open in case there is any opportunities.
Do we have is that water accessible to us or no? That's in their control.
If you buy it. Yeah, I mean, that's part of their water delivery service that they have for potable water.
Janet, are you talking about the one up on Gray Eagle that's gonna be dismantled, that water tank?
We were talking about one that was gonna be dismantled,
That's
but I
because
can't
there's a
remember.
new distribution line that came in from Alamo, replacing that water tank. And it's contaminated, it's a fire hazard, it has a wooden roof.
Yeah, so that's
We don't
the
want that
one.
one.
We don't want
We don't want that one.
But they do have plans for the one on top of Stanley Dollar, the one on top of or near RPM. So they have, that's part of their capital program, looking at those as well. We are addressing the golf bridges, and we have a plan for doing that over the next many years. It's a process. Challenges in board communication. This is always a challenge and has been part of goals for the board in the past. My Rossmore is something I would add to this as a new effort in access to ongoing information and communication. Competition from other senior communities, especially the market of the tiered services where it's active, assisted and memory care type communities that are popping up everywhere. So these, the marketing task force and our need to continue to keep this community updated and vibrant is really critical. The trust expiration, as we have just gotten through or almost through the management agreement, this will kind of be the next hurdle to take on. But there's both potential legal options as well as if we can get everybody just to agree to extend the date. There's no real new information to add there. Lack of board succession. Again, there's not a whole lot new here to add, but this is really, if there's not interest to serve on the board, you know, how do we continue to generate interest? Lack of ESG framework, environmental, social, and governance. To be honest with you, do not know where this one generated from. Could hinder ours. Attract
A lot of
partnerships,
words.
maintain relevance
I don't
with
know what it
evolving
means.
stakeholders and expectations.
Is failure to evaluate.
I need to do a little more research on that one.
Yeah.
The only thing that stands out to me there is opportunities for grants, you know, and if that's really important.
Yeah. We talked quite a bit about compensation under human resources and retention of staff and quality staff. We continue to be in a little bit different environment as we're dealing with a new generation of employees. So these different categories are critical for internal recruitment and retention. What is relevant to employees in the current market? How does that relate to our agreements with the union? There's a lot of different categories that this touches here to make sure that we have the workforce to deliver programs. And that's been a risk that we've seen kind of come to fruition over the last several years. You know, our ability to offer transit services, our ability to fully deliver on the level of service. So this is a big category. And it's not just compensation. There's a number of things around that one. Succession planning, we've done a lot with this one over the last several years in terms of creating a little bit more layered structure within our organization. We have had some success with internal promotion. So we're making progress on that one.
Do we have an actual plan if something were to happen to a key manager? Is being shared with the board?
I don't think we've shared that with the board. We've had a internal document where we recognize kind of potential opportunities for folks that would have growth potential that different managers have identified. So
I mean, what would happen if something happened to you or Arun? And I mean, you know, what would be the plan to deal with that?
There would be a lot of mourning.
Yes.
A lot of board resignations.
But I mean, you know, I mean, it could be not that something died or anything, but you know, you were out for 6 months or, you know,
Yes.
something of that sort, right? I mean, so do we have succession plans or plans to deal with that kind of situation?
That's something we could add to this as an action item to take it to a level that could be pulled off the shelf and implemented.
We are in a better position to put something into place now, right, with the way it's organized now and the departments are organized.
Yeah, I mean, I think our ability to absorb and continue the continuity of the organization is definitely viable, but that's an action plan that we should add to that.
A number of very good people, I feel, at the senior level. But just how do you reorganize it?
Yeah.
If person X, you know, gets
Yeah.
in a car accident?
That's very, very viable. So we'll add that as an action plan. Employee strike within our union agreement, there is a no strike clause. The union agreement did expire on 7/31. However, we have an extension while we continue negotiating that has been executed. So those clauses are still in effect.
By the way, Jeff, you missed employee transitions and continuity, or do you view that as a part of the succession? It looks a little, could be combined, or
Some of these definitely can be combined.
you know,
We'll look at that. To do that. Underground infrastructure, this comes up a lot because, you know, we get all of those water shut-off notices and we see PG&E digging up the street that we talked about earlier. A lot of that is somewhat out of our control, and a lot of it is on mutual property, but I think with the importance of continuity and keeping the mutuals up, that is something we need to bring to the forefront with the mutuals when it's after the meter and on their side of.
Are there any grant programs or anything of that sort that would be available for housing units that are, you know, I mean, senior housing? I mean, we've got some reasons to say that we're, you know,
Yeah.
worthy of grants.
There might be some block grant type of things that might be available.
Do we have any money sort of searching for that kind of thing or not?
We do not have a grant writer department. It would be something that, you know, one of the senior managers or myself would uncover, or a board for a mutual. It comes to play in different fashions, but we don't have somebody actively seeking.
By the way, Jeff, the task force in talking about getting in front of elected representatives, we've also talked about getting in front of East Bay Mud, Central Sand. That could apply here as a potential action.
Yeah. I'll add that as a action item. Board leadership, mutual, this is more focused on the mutuals, training, continuity of mutual boards, relationships with RWC and a mutual board. If there was anything that destabilized that, that could have significant impact to the valley. So we talk about training, we talk about standardization of service delivery, the importance of the management agreement. All of those steps are key to trying to maintain that relationship and stability. We definitely tested it with the implementation of NetSuite over this last year. The next one has to do with
By the way, Jeff, you skipped infrastructure neglect, or do you view that as being combined with? It's not really board leadership with the mutuals.
No, I'm sorry, yeah, I skipped infrastructure neglect. So this has to do with the mutuals again. So this is one where we have the two elements of the community. We have all of the RWC amenities, program services, we're collecting membership transfer fee, we're trying to maintain everything at a certain level. Does that match what the housing stock is available within the community? Are the mutuals making appropriate investments within their mutuals to keep their infrastructure at the same level as? So I think that was the identified risk.
I mean, that is something that we could help with, in the sense that RPM should be sort of providing leadership to the board. Saying,
Absolutely.
by the way, here's something you should do. And I don't know that we really have that role in RPM, and maybe we could add it.
You mean like an inspection reporting
Well, no,
process?
somebody who's looking at the big picture.
Yeah, the
and
long-term planning,
knowing what's
investments.
available and learning about, opportunities that are out there. For example, heat pumps. There's a lot of grants available for heat pump installations. Okay, so do the board of mutuals know about that? Probably not. But if we had somebody who was paying attention to that kind of thing, then they could be presenting those things to, making it easy for the board to do it, as opposed to right now where there's nobody sort of helping them.
That's identified as a potential solution, so I mean, that's certainly in the offing.
So I'm gonna skip the printer going out of business. Cyber attack on the 3 websites. We talked about that a little bit in terms of the ongoing attacks with malware, and it's getting more and more sophisticated and ongoing. And we've made that a huge priority in terms of our new websites and our servers. Declining bus ad revenue, I would propose we take that off. I don't think that
Enterprise.
climbs to the level of risk. I would agree. Landscape fire abatement, I would add to this, in addition to the shaded fuel break, working with the mutuals on any legislation that comes through, Zone 0, and other opportunities. Falling trees is definitely part of this community that we have seen, and is forestry management is a big undertaking with both the mutuals and on RWC property. I think our steps are maintaining the trees and the reports, budgeting appropriately. Budget inflation, we've seen this. It certainly has impacted our ability to keep costs contained. And we are reliant on kind of global markets as well for a number of our items. So maybe add to inflation tariff impacts to this, but trying to, again, balance both capital project cost and ongoing affordability, which is the next item.
And Jeff, I think you cover inflation in the next item. I think you could eliminate.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing we can
Roll it
specifically do about it.
Have
It is,
one
and affordability, we do have.
Yeah.
There.
have one, item that talks about budget affordability and so forth within Rossmore. And there's a lot within that. I think when we developed this last time, we anticipated a pretty significant jump in RWC operating costs. This year has been more level, but continuously looking at our efficiencies and the value of our services and communications. So there's a lot within this. Any comments on these actions? We've had a civility task force, and we've done a number of things over the last few years related to civility, and really the community through policy adjustments for demonstrations and the political columns in the newspaper. So there's been some things to try and quell incivility. We have a number of policies that are working their way through policy committee and the board right now that addresses civility as well. I'm not sure there's any other items to add within this.
That's the longest list of any
Of potential.
perhaps that could be.
Pared down a bit.
I think so.
Yeah, we'll look at that. Active shooter, this is certainly relevant to national news, and we do trainings on this, and it is on the radar screen of our public safety manager. And that concludes the list. So the big question is, what new has come up that the committee would like to add to or address, if any?
That's what's tough to answer.
Yeah.
Susan.
Just a question on AI has become so prevalent, and I know we had AI mentioned there, but I'm wondering if there's something new or if that has some other kind of influence on our operations.
And I think that Jeff is going to expound on that in that category.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think that's quite an extensive list.
It is, as
lot
you
of
go, as you go through it year over year, it is pretty amazing how many of the things actually kind of come to fruition that we experience and we kind of work our way through. And we have the tools in place for most of them. So it's been
It's very good to be
successful, yeah.
What if the National Guard comes knocking on our gate? What do we do about that?
Call Newsom. All right, anything else on enterprise risk management? Jeff, thanks for going through that. Anything else for the good of the community? If not, we stand adjourned. See you next month.